You know, every time I'm up here tootling around on this abandoned mountain farm that my wife and I bought about a year back, I can't help but think about Plasencia cigars from time to time. Not just because, well, they're one of the longest standing purveyors of premium long filler tobacco on the planet, but because they produce cigars that make me kind of feel connected to what I'm doing right here. This is the Reserva Original in Corona size. Currently, this is the first and, to the best of our knowledge, only 100% certified organic cigar on the planet. It is a Corona Vitola in my hand, so 6.2 inches long, 44 ring gauge, and 100% Nicaraguan puro from wrapper to binder and filler within. And while Plasencia is not quick to divulge any information regarding what tobacco strains are utilized within this blend, the company does give us a little bit of backstory behind it. And it's, well, a little bit complicated. So bear with me, okay? Apparently, this blend was originally called the Reserva Organica, because at the time it was the first and only 100% certified organic blend on the market, which is kind of interesting because, well, to this day, we don't really know of any other 100% certified organic cigars. But long before this blend even became a thing, Plasencia was organic certified. If memory serves, it was back in 2000. Yeah, back in 2000 was when they first got their official certification, at least down in Honduras. So while Plasencia has been rolling out organic tobacco and selling it to cigar manufacturers since, well, the year 2000, the Reserva Original, when it came out in 2017, it had already received an additional 5 years of aging post-fermentation, which to this day, from what we understand, is still the case. So this has an extra 5 years of age on it. Another thing about this cigar that makes it even more interesting is that it is based upon tobacco strains and blends that are traditionally Nicaraguan, and not just traditionally in the last 50 years. We're talking 500 years. Plasencia wanted to make a cigar that was a throwback to the Nicaragua tribes blends from 500 years ago. So this is what it is. Now, granted, this is probably way more refined than what they used to smoke back then, but that's a really fun fact. Now, before we get underway, there are a couple other things I have to mention about this cigar, and that is that it has a 90 rating over at Cigar Journal and a 92 rating at Cigar Aficionado from last year. This bumped this particular Vitola into the top 25 of the year for Cigar Aficionado. And, well, I think it's about time to fire another one up because I've already smoked 3 of these bad boys and I like them a lot. Now, the cigar itself does have some modeling on its wrapper, along with a little bit of tooth. You can see these little bumps on the surface of it if you look closely, and that lets you know there's that additional 5 years of age post-fermentation that they make mention of. Another few things to note is that it's a little bit on the softer side. The spring itself to the wrapper, when you give it a squeeze, has more than just some bounce. It's a little squishy, so it's a little, it's well constructed, but it's still a little on the loose end. And I like the Plasencia triple band. Some people don't dig all the banding and branding. I like it a lot, especially when you've got a covered foot to protect that end of it, and the little sunshine pea popping over the mountains, the Plasencia part of the band. Reminds me of kind of what's sitting behind me up here on the mountainside. So every time I smoke one up here, I really do feel connected to all things organic. Let's get to it, shall we? Give the barrel a whiff, and you will get some of that graham cracker smell. Not tons of it, but yeah, a little cinnamon, a little honey, a little of that graham cracker biscuity deliciousness, and some farmhouse funk. More animal hide funk, like a leathery smell. The foot is a fun one too, because that is way more of a ginger tea cookie-like, sugar cookie-like smell. Oh, it's really very nice, very clean smelling too, which, hey, it's organic, go figure. Cold pulls, let's go. Mm, I love the cold pulls on this cigar. It may be actually my favorite cold pull cigar of the year. I mean, 2023 is almost over, but still, this is really good. Mm. Cold pulls are pretty much a duplicate carbon copy of what you smell on the foot. So a little bit of ginger snap along with a little faint, pepperiness, but very mild in that sense, and sweet, 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 caramelly like. Very nice, and the aftertaste is pleasant. Oh man, I'm almost hesitant to light it. It's that good. Definitely one that you're going to want to play around with when it comes to pairing. Herb tea, I find, is a pretty nice complement as well as contrast to the cigar. Just a little note for those of you who like to sip while they smoke. You may get a little bit of pepper when you fire this cigar up, but you're going to be rewarded with more of a cedary, smooth, mild to medium smoke. Very, very good. Oh, so clean. Allow the first 10 minutes of the cigar to settle in and the flavors to meld a bit. And those cedary notes and sweetness that you get right upon light up are joined by just a hint of that graham cracker taste. Very desirable, not too sweet, and just enough of a tease to keep you puffing and get through that first third. There's going to be that ginger taste that comes out, at least that I've detected. And it's not just this stick. The other cigars have it as well. This one seems to be a little more prominent, though, that flavor profile. And it's a mild ginger, almost like a faint candy ginger. Nothing artificial because, well, organic, but also just a little tingle of it post exhale. Speaking of exhale, retrohale this sucker and you will get some peppercorns. Black, white, maybe even like a medley peppercorn mix that you get with the green and the white and the red and all that thrown together. Tasty and controllable. Still a mild to medium on the mouth. Retrohale though, you'll bump it up to a full-blown medium, at least in strength. Body though, mild to medium right now as well. So clean though, oh, so clean. One of the flavor profiles that Plasencia markets in this cigar is marzipan, the German sweet, which I can kind of see that. It's a little milky and got a little bit of doughiness to it and, biscuity flavor. And as the first third hits that second third and, the center of the cigar really reaches its stride, you will discover more of those faint, sweet like doughy flavors. And I wonder if that was something that was intended all along or was just kind of like a happy accident due to, well, that additional 5 years of aging or just the fermentation process or these mysterious tobacco leaves. Center point brings with it complete balance between flavors from before and what is occurring now, which is just a very medium bodied, medium strength, slightly spiced Nicaraguan puro flavor profile. Just straight up clean tasting tobacco right now, maybe with a touch of ginger added to it and those previous flavors now playing second fiddle. This is intriguing because it's not a super intense flavor profile with a bunch of different nuances layered on top of one another. It's just what you previously tasted and what's going on now. This does bring forth some breadiness and a little bit more of that marzipan note. And the smoke itself has a creamy texture to it that kind of makes me think of Connecticut shade grown cigars that I've had in the past that just are kind of velvety and milky. The finish and aftertaste are very pleasant too on this cigar. I continue to find myself wanting to come back for another puff because it tastes so good. But because it's a Corona, you have to be careful because this cigar will heat up on you and then it's just going to be a charry bomb throughout the rest of it, which is something I learned kind of the hard way with the first smoke I had. Take your time, enjoy what you've got. Mosey on into that final third. And kind of candy ginger flavor leans a little more toward almost like a candied lemon peel taste. Slightly citrusy and tangy. Not super sweet still, and it's more of a caramelized sugar. It's almost not burnt, but you know, that caramelized flavor. That adds a little bit of depth to the cigar. It also gets a little drier on you, so it's sweet and dry, which is an interesting juxtaposition because you just don't really know which direction the cigar wants to take you in at this point. I also appreciate the way in which this cigar burns because as long as you don't puff too hard, it burns fairly cool on you and cleanly, no touch-ups. Final third of this cigar is definitely pepper forward, especially if you're still retrohaling. And it's a little bit darker and maltier in its flavor profile, which is a good way to close out the cigar because up until this point, it has been a little bit more lighthearted, shall we say. And this lets you know that it's time to start winding down and appreciate all that has been offered to you until this very moment. Speaking of things getting dark, starting to lose our sun out here. So I'm going to close up a little bit early and give you some impressions as to what parting puffs entail with this cigar, because that is probably my least favorite part of the Reserva Original. It's just your typical kind of muddled, charry, overly kind of bland tasting finish. Not until the very end though. So once you get down to that final P on the band, because remember there's 3 bands on this cigar, once you get down to that last one, that's really where it starts to come in. So I've got another, 10 minutes or so of the final third to enjoy. So until that moment arrives, I'll give you guys the skinny on what I think about this 100% organic cigar. It's great, really great. Just a clean smoke. Pretty much everywhere through the barrel. If you take your time, you're going to get really nice tasting Nicaraguan tobacco. And you're not going to get anything funky really until, again, that final band. And then it will, again, just kind of go south on you and just put it down. So bear that in mind when you smoke one, and know to always put it down a little sooner than you think you might want to, just because you don't want to be left with a bad taste in your mouth. But yeah, even now, it's developing this dark cedary note, and it's drying out more on you, and those candied flavors of ginger and lemon peel are pretty much gone now, and it's just becoming a little more mature tasting, or acting. And that earns this cigar a 4.4 out of 5 stars for me. It's great. It's organic. I wouldn't go as far to say that it's good for you, but it's probably the best thing on the shelf when it comes to smoking. And it's kind of neat in that Plasencia has been able to keep this stick going for as long as it has. And this blend keeps getting reviewed highly online, not just from my happy ass over here at Claro. So try one out for yourself. Take your time, smoke slow, retrohale at your own discretion if you want some pepperiness, and we'll catch you in the next review. Cheers.